The twin suns of Virelon 9 glared down on the charred wreckage, casting long, flickering shadows over the smoking crater. Imperial recon teams circled the site with plasma rifles drawn, scales glistening with sweat beneath their uniforms. The escape pod had punched into the sand like a hammer into soft flesh, leaving a brutal trail of molten metal and fused rock. At the edge of the pit, Private Frib squinted through his visor at the mangled husk. "Confirmed Terran signature," he croaked nervously. "Biosigns inside," Commander Threxaz's voice barked from the comlink, dry and irritated. "Approach with caution. Humans are twitchy when injured." Frib gulped and slid down the edge, boots skidding. The hatch creaked open with a reluctant hiss, revealing tangled wires, burnt-out consoles, and one bloodied, half-conscious human slouched against the wall. He was tall, broad-chested, hair matted with soot and blood. Muscles strained against a torn black tank top. A gash across his brow leaked slowly onto a pair of aviator sunglasses, somehow still clinging to his face. He looked up. "Oh," he rasped, voice thick as gravel and twice as dry. "So I didn't die? That sucks." Frib flinched. "You are injured?" The human grinned through broken teeth. "Nah, just bleeding artistically." Two more soldiers joined, weapons ready. One nudged Frib. "That's a Terran Special Forces patch. We should wait for command." The human stirred and groaned. "You boys got any aspirin? Or maybe some whiskey and duct tape?" "Should we shoot him?" whispered the second soldier. Frib hesitated. "He appears unarmed." The human sighed. "Oh good, we're doing the whole point and panic thing. Look, I'm not here to—" A plasma bolt struck him in the chest. He staggered, stared down at the smoldering scorch mark in his shirt, then looked up, unimpressed. That tickled. They fired again. One shot to the leg, another to the shoulder. The man dropped to a knee but didn't collapse. He winced, sucked air through his teeth, and let out a slow, deliberate groan. "Man, I really should have skipped leg day." Panicked, Frib hit the stun pulse. The human finally slumped, unconscious, but not before muttering something that made the soldiers freeze. "Tell the Reaper I'm not dead yet." Back aboard the Imperial corvette anchored above the crash site, Commander Threxaz reviewed the transmission with his mandibles twitching. The name echoed like a curse through the room. "The Reaper?" he said aloud, tail curling. "That can't be real." The technician nodded. "High-level tag in the human's escape logs. It's there. Code name, Reaper. Imperial Red Tier Threat Classification. Psychological warfare. No confirmed image." Threxaz clicked his tongue and turned to the screen. The human, identified as Staff Sergeant Rex Callahan, was currently restrained in a med cell, sedated, healing far too quickly. Internal diagnostics showed 3 fractured ribs, a ruptured spleen, and second-degree plasma burns. He was also humming something called Highway to the Danger Zone in his sleep. Threxaz scrolled deeper into the file, reading aloud. "Trained under Reaper Initiative. Rejected for re-entry into civilian society. Marked unstable." He paused, then frowned. "Mentor, Dr. Eleanor Graves. Alias, the Reaper." The name triggered a protocol lock. Files blurred into redacted text sealed under joint Imperial Earth peace accords. The Reaper was not just some Terran myth. She was a forbidden subject. "Shut this down," Threxaz ordered. "Delete all access logs. Nobody needs to know we found him." Frib, meanwhile, had been tasked with guarding the prisoner. He stood nervously at the edge of the glass cell, watching Rex slowly stir. The human blinked against the sterile lights, grimaced, and then smiled. "Hey, bud," Rex croaked. "Do me a favor?" Frib stiffened. What?" "Tell your command I want my Walkman back, and maybe a burger." "I do not know what that is." Rex sighed. "Figures, no culture." Rex sat up despite the restraints. His arms bulged against the cuffs, and the healing wounds glowed faintly beneath the skin. His heart rate had already normalized. His vitals looked like he'd just finished jogging instead of taking 3 plasma rounds to the torso. Frib watched uneasily as Rex rolled his shoulders. "So, who shot me?" he asked. I did," Frib said, then immediately regretted it. "No hard feelings. You shot like a stormtrooper anyway." Frib tilted his head. "What is stormtrooper? Forget it." The doors whooshed open. Commander, Threxaz entered, flanked by 2 security drones. His eyes narrowed. "You are trained by the Reaper." Rex leaned back, smirked. "That's what's in the file?" "Is it true?" Rex's smile faded, just a flicker. "What do you think?" Threxaz stepped forward. "That woman violated every war law in the galaxy. She turned Terran soldiers into monsters." "I prefer the term problem solvers," Rex replied. "Efficient, witty, sometimes explosive problem solvers. You are to be contained until High Command decides your fate. Any resistance will be met with maximum force." Rex gave a short laugh. "Buddy, the max force already tried. I walked it off." Threxaz signaled to the drones. They powered up tasers. Rex's body tensed, not in fear but anticipation. Then he tilted his head and said, "Did anyone else smell gasoline, or is that just me?" A half-second later, the lights dimmed. Smoke hissed from the vents. Alarms blared. Frib stumbled back, tripped over his own tail. "He's doing something." "I'm just sitting here," Rex said, flexing his wrists. The cuffs sparked, shorted. His hands came free. "You have breached containment." "I didn't do anything," Rex said, lifting both arms. This was Plan B. Plan A was punch my way out. Drones advanced. Rex kicked the bed frame, which spun sideways and slammed one drone into the wall. The other fired. Rex ducked, caught the emitter, and twisted until the drone exploded, in a shower of sparks. Frib screamed and ran. Threxaz reached for his plasma sidearm, but Rex was already there. He caught the wrist, twisted it until the weapon clattered to the floor, and leaned in close. "Tell High Command." "They're already too late," Threxaz spat. "You think one man can disrupt an empire?" Rex knelt, scooped up the plasma pistol, and cocked it with a flourish. "One man, no. But one man trained by her?" He winked. "You'll wish it was just me." As he vanished down the corridor, klaxons blaring, Frib huddled in a supply closet trying to calm his nerves. Over the comms, Command screamed conflicting orders. Lockdown, evacuate, engage, surrender. And behind it all, through the chaos, came a single transmission. Low frequency, untraceable, a woman's voice, calm, cold, playful. This was just the warm-up. He hasn't even gotten creative yet. On the bridge, Threxaz stared at the flickering screen showing Rex tearing through hallway security like a walking demolition derby. He turned to his officers. "Find her," he said. "Find the Reaper, because if she's involved, this isn't an escape, it's a reckoning." And in the medbay wreckage, amid the broken metal and fried circuits, Rex's dog tags lay scorched but readable. Callahan, Rex, Earth Special Forces, blood type coffee. Motto etched on the back: "Failure is not an option. It's a training opportunity." The black market station of Skarn 12 wasn't on any official map, but every bounty hunter, smuggler, and interstellar criminal worth their fake IDs knew how to find it. Floating like a rusted tumor in the asteroid belt of a long-dead system, the station stank of ozone, sweat, and 100 varieties of illegal contraband. Its neon signs flickered, half-broken, and the local gravity fluctuated like a drunk uncle at a wedding. The place was loud, filthy, and brimming with beings who'd sell their grandmothers for the right price, or at least lease them. Into this fragrant mess strolled Rex Callahan, wearing a tattered cloak over his burned uniform, bloodstains long, dried into something resembling tie-dye. The plasma pistol was tucked under his belt, poorly concealed and obviously stolen. His walk was relaxed, almost casual, as if he wasn't the most wanted fugitive in 3 sectors. He stopped at a kiosk, selling what might have once been food, and pointed at something twitching under a heat lamp. "Is that beef?" The vendor, a 3-eyed slug in a dirty apron, regarded him with suspicion. "That's beefish." "Maybe. You buying or staring?" Rex handed over a chipped credit chit. "You got ketchup?" "No." "Then I don't want it." As he turned, a voice behind him hissed with familiarity. "You're late." Rex glanced over his shoulder, amused. "You say that like I promised to be on time." The speaker stepped into view, a short, wiry woman with cybernetic eyes and a shotgun strapped to her back. Commander Frankie de Leon, once of Earth's Mars Division, now operating under the charming moniker Independent Consultant. Her hair was buzzed short, jaw clenched with perpetual irritation. "You're supposed to be dead," she said. "Yeah, that's becoming a theme." She stared at him. "You really walked out of an Imperial med cell?" I limped, with flair. "You just painted a target the size of Texas on your back," Rex grinned. "That's assuming the Empire knows where Texas is." Frankie didn't smile. "They'll send squads, ships, drones, and if they realize who trained you—" "They already know," Rex said quietly. "They said her name." Frankie went still. "You're kidding." "They used her code. Reaper. And then the lights went out." "Thought that was you." "I don't do dramatic smoke entrances anymore. It messes with my allergies." "Then she's active." "That's impossible." Rex shrugged. "She taught me impossible." Frankie looked away, jaw tight. "Rex, we buried her. She disappeared into a black site so deep they forgot where they put it. You really think she'd come back now? She always said the Empire would screw up bad enough to make her hit. Unretire." Frankie narrowed her eyes. "And you think you're the screw-up that woke the sleeping dragon?" "I was shot unconscious and sang Kenny Loggins in my coma. So yeah, could be me." Frankie cursed under her breath. "This is gonna spiral fast." "It already is." "Then we need to find her before they do." Rex nodded. "Where's the old network?" "Disbanded. Disavowed. Most are dead or drunk, maybe both." "We'll start with the drunk ones." Frankie hesitated. "And if she doesn't want to be found?" Rex's expression turned serious. "Then we remind her why she built us." Far above Skarn 12 in the polished corridors of the Imperial dreadnought Sovereign's Mercy, Admiral Korlax paced with tightly controlled fury. The Reaper was not a myth to him. He'd seen her handiwork. An entire battalion disassembled in 8 minutes. Surveillance drones fried mid-air. Command posts infiltrated by smiling humans who left behind nothing but cassette tapes and body bags. Now she was stirring, possibly alive. And worse, her student had slipped through their fingers. The High Command issued a single directive: contain, neutralize, obliterate if necessary. "Deploy the Silent Talons," Korlax ordered. "They'll find him." His second-in-command, a tall avian named Rake, tilted his head. "But sir, the Talons haven't been used since the Trachean Uprising." "That's exactly why. Callahan is bait. But Graves, she's the architect of chaos. And if we can't find her," Korlax narrowed his eyes, "then we burn every world she's touched, until she calls us herself." Back on Skarn 12, Rex and Frankie made their way through a dim bar called the Blue Elbow, named after an infamous brawl that had ended in spontaneous amputation. The place was crawling with mercs and grifters. At a booth near the back, a man slouched in a chair, surrounded by empty bottles and a smell that suggested a war between whiskey and hygiene. "Is that Mendez?" Rex asked. Frankie nodded. "Or what's left of him." Mendez had once been the fastest sniper on Luna Base. Now he looked like someone had replaced his spine with pudding. He cracked one eye open as they approached. Well, butter my biscuits. If it ain't Captain I got shot and still sassed a drone. Hey, Mendez, Rex said, sliding into the booth. You look like a crime scene. Appreciate the honesty, Mendez slurred. I'm in my retirement phase. Bourbon and bad decisions. We need info, Frankie said. Unless it's about finding the bottom of this bottle, I'm out. Rex leaned forward. We need the ghost file, Reaper's final backup. Mendez blinked. That was a suicide code. She said to burn it if anyone went looking. She's moving again. Mendez studied Rex's face, then glanced at Frankie. You're serious? We're also in trouble, Rex added. Big, flaming, Empire-level execution order trouble. Mendez scratched his chin. The file was air-gapped in a drone vault. Old site, abandoned now. Location? Outer Rim. Dead moon called Norsh 6. No atmosphere. Powers probably gone. But if she left anything behind, it's there. Frankie stood. We leave in an hour. Mendez raised a hand. You're gonna want backup. And explosives. Maybe a flamethrower. Also bring marshmallows. You never know. Outside as they headed toward the dock, Rex turned to Frankie. You trust him? No. But if there's one thing Mendez never lies about, it's moon vaults and alcohol. They boarded a rusted gunship barely holding together with tape and curses. Frankie ran diagnostics while Rex sat in the co-pilot seat, adjusting the seatbelt with exaggerated care. Still terrified of flying? She asked. I'm not scared, Rex replied. I just have a healthy respect for gravity and poor engineering. You jumped out of a dropship at Mach 2 once. Yeah, and I landed in a cactus. As the ship lifted off, Rex glanced out. The viewport. Think she's really out there? Frankie didn't answer right away. If she is, and she's watching, she'll test us first. Rex smirked. She already did. How do you figure? She let me get captured. Frankie paused, then actually laughed. A sharp, surprised sound. That sneaky witch. As they jumped into hyperspace, far behind them on Skarn 12, a cloaked figure watched their trail disappear. Her hood was pulled low, but her posture was relaxed, precise. In one hand, she held a datapad, scrolling lines of code, intercept logs, and facial recognition matches. She tapped a comm link. They're heading to Norsha 6, a filtered voice responded. Do we intercept? No, she said. Let them dig. Let him remember. The voice hesitated. What if he dies? She smiled faintly. Then he wasn't worth teaching. In the silence that followed, she played an old Earth song from the device's cracked speaker. A raspy, low-fidelity version of Back in Black blared as she disappeared into the crowd, unnoticed. Norsh 6 waited. So did the truth, and the Reaper was already 10 moves ahead. The gunship's descent onto Norsh 6 was less than graceful. The moon's surface, a barren expanse of jagged rocks and frozen dust, offered little in the way of hospitality. As the landing gear groaned under the ship's weight, Rex Callahan peered through the viewport, his breath fogging the glass. The atmosphere was thin, barely breathable, and the temperature hovered just above absolute zero. Frankie DeLeon, ever the pragmatist, was already suited up, checking her gear with practiced efficiency. You sure this is the place? She asked, her voice muffled by the helmet's comm system. Rex nodded, adjusting the seals on his own suit. Mendez said the vault was here. Old Imperial outpost, long abandoned. If the Reaper left anything behind, it'll be inside. The airlock hissed open, revealing the desolate landscape. They stepped out, boots crunching on the icy ground. In the distance, the silhouette of a structure loomed, a squat, angular building, half buried in the lunar soil. As they approached, the building's age became evident. Panels were missing, wires hung like vines, and the entrance was sealed with a rusted bulkhead. Frankie produced a plasma cutter, slicing through the metal with a shower of sparks. The door fell inward with a resonant clang. Inside, the facility was a tomb. Dust coated every surface, and the air was stale. Flickering lights cast eerie shadows, and the hum of dormant machinery echoed faintly. They moved cautiously, weapons drawn, senses alert. In the central chamber, they found it. A console, surprisingly intact, its screen glowing faintly. Rex approached, fingers dancing over the controls. "It's encrypted," he muttered. "But I think I can bypass it." Frankie kept watch, her eyes scanning the darkness. "Make it quick. I don't like this place." Suddenly the console beeped, and the screen displayed a series of files. Rex accessed the first, and a holographic image flickered to life. A woman, her features sharp, eyes piercing. "The Reaper." "If you're seeing this," the hologram began, "then the Empire has overstepped. They've forgotten the cost of their ambition. It's time they remembered." The message continued, detailing plans, contingencies, and a network of operatives hidden throughout the galaxy. It was a call to arms, a blueprint for rebellion. As the hologram ended, the console emitted a warning. "Tone. Unauthorized access detected," a mechanical voice intoned. "Initiating lockdown." Doors slammed shut, and the room plunged into darkness. Red emergency lights bathed the chamber in an ominous glow. Frankie cursed, raising her weapon. "We've got company." From the shadows, figures emerged, sleek humanoid machines with glowing eyes and lethal intent. Imperial sentinels, long dormant, now reactivated. Rex fired first, his plasma bolts searing through the air. Frankie followed suit, her shotgun blasts echoing in the confined space. The sentinels advanced, relentless, their metal limbs impervious to pain. They fought with desperation, using every tactic, every trick they'd learned. But the numbers were against them. Just as a sentinel lunged at Rex, a sudden explosion rocked the chamber, sending debris flying. Through the smoke, a figure appeared, a woman clad in black, her movements fluid and deadly. The Reaper. She moved with precision, dispatching the sentinels with ease. In moments the room was silent, the threat neutralized. Rex stared, disbelief etched on his face. "You're real!" The Reaper nodded, her gaze steady. "I taught you well, Rex. But now, it's time to finish what we started." Outside, the moon's surface remained unchanged, but beneath it, a storm was brewing, one that would shake the foundations of the Empire. The Reaper's presence was as commanding as ever, her voice slicing through the tension like a blade. Rex and Frankie stood before her, the weight of their pasts and the uncertainty of their futures pressing down on them. The Reaper's gaze was unyielding, her expression unreadable. "You've come far," she said, her tone devoid of emotion. Rex nodded, the memories of their shared history flooding back. "We need your help. The Empire is hunting us, and your network is our only chance." The Reaper studied him, her eyes narrowing. "The network is gone, disbanded, destroyed." Frankie stepped forward, determination etched on her face. "Then we rebuild it. Together." Wikipedia. A flicker of something, perhaps admiration, crossed the Reaper's face. "You're willing to risk everything?" "We already have," Rex replied. The Reaper turned away, her silhouette framed by the dim light of the chamber. "Very well, but understand this. The path ahead is fraught with peril. There will be no turning back." "We're ready," Frankie said. The Reaper faced them once more, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Then let's begin." As they set their plans into motion, the trio knew that the road ahead would test their resolve, challenge their beliefs, and force them to confront the very essence of who they were. But with unity, determination, and a shared purpose, they were prepared to face whatever the galaxy threw at them. The warship wasn't designed for stealth, but it moved like a predator in open water. Too large to hide, too quiet to ignore. Inside, The Reaper's crew stirred like awakened ghosts, old operatives dragged out of dusty corners of exile. One of them, an elderly tech named Beans, sipped coffee from a chipped mug with "Get off my lawn" in aggressive Comic Sans. "You rebuilt the whole network?" Frankie asked, watching as Beans typed with one hand and assembled a laser detonator with the other. "Not rebuilt. Revived," Beans muttered. "Half these files are older than your mixtape." "I don't own a mixtape," Frankie said. "Well, that's your first mistake." Rex leaned against a bulkhead, arms crossed, watching the crew sync for coordinated strikes against the Empire's deep-core data servers. They weren't attacking a fleet. They were attacking the memory of a galactic superpower. The plan was so reckless, so absurdly human, that no alien strategist would have ever predicted it. "Everything the Empire fears about us," the Reaper had said in the strategy room, "is true. And that's our advantage." What followed wasn't a battle. It was an embarrassment. The Empire's flagship fortress on Iridax Prime had shields impervious to all known alien energy signatures. Naturally, Rex's solution was to bypass it entirely using compressed coilgun rounds and a reprogrammed pizza oven. Frankie piloted the drop pod that deployed it. "We're delivering justice," she joked, flipping switches. Extra crispy. The pod slammed into the facility's underbelly with such force that the sensor alarms screamed in 6 dialects. Inside, startled alien officers scrambled to identify the source of the breach, only to find Rex calmly walking through fire, dragging a heavy duffel bag and chewing bubblegum. He was fresh out of gum. The duffel held an improvised coil-fed machine gun nicknamed Spanky, which tore through elite guards like a lawnmower through tall weeds. Rex moved with deliberate aggression, every round fired announcing to the Empire that their time at the top was done. Meanwhile, Frankie and Beans rerouted data feeds to broadcast the Reaper's message, an edited video of the Empire's atrocities, paired with an 80s synth beat and memes of confused alien generals photoshopped with clown noses. The whole thing ended with the phrase, "You messed with the wrong species." By the time the broadcast hit galactic frequencies, planets began defecting. Old resistance groups, mutts of various worlds once crushed beneath the Empire's boot, rose again, not out of hope, but out of righteous amusement. If humans could embarrass the Empire that bad, why not join in? Still, it wasn't over. The Emperor, a 1,000-year-old being housed in a cybernetic shell of solid iridium, activated the final contingency. The Nihil Array, a superweapon hidden in orbit near the dying star of Crixus 5. Designed to erase planetary life signatures, it was pointed at Earth. "We have 3 hours," the Reaper said, her voice taut with uncharacteristic emotion. "After that, there is no more home." She stood with Rex and Frankie on the bridge of the warship, stars streaking past them as they raced toward the array. "You okay?" Rex asked her quietly. "No," she said. "But I will be." Frankie turned. "What's the plan?" "Something stupid," the Reaper answered. As usual, they arrived near the array under cover of the star's radiation pulses, making them momentarily invisible to enemy scanners. Beans launched a diversion, a wave of data that spoofed 50 false targets, and Frankie guided the warship into a blind spot behind the array's heat sink tower. Rex volunteered for the infiltration. No argument, no drama, just a nod. "Can't believe I taught you," the Reaper said as she handed him the last neural key. "You turned out dumber and braver than I hoped." Rex smiled. "I learned from the best." He slipped into the array like a ghost, evading security with a mixture of old marine stealth and chaotic human luck. Frankie hacked local systems, opening doors milliseconds before he reached them. At one point, Rex had to fight a 6-armed insectoid commander using nothing but a screwdriver and a broken cafeteria tray. The tray won. He reached the core. The weapon's firing sequence had already begun, blue energy coiling like lightning in a bottle. Rex inserted the neural key and paused. He could disable the array, but it'd overload. Instant vaporization. Rex, status? Frankie called over comms. He didn't respond. Rex? He stared at the growing light. This was it. Frankie, tell the Reaper she was wrong. I did learn something. What the hell are you talking about? I learned that sometimes being human means doing the dumb thing because it's the right thing. Then he jammed the override and grinned. Except, nothing exploded. The core powered down, lights dimmed, and a voice crackled from the system. Neural authority recognized. Reaper protocol activated. The Reaper, back on the bridge, blinked. What? Beans laughed. You locked him in, as heir to your contingency throne. That override made him supreme human idiot. Oh, that's rich. The array deactivated. The Nihil weapon disarmed, and Rex, still alive, stood blinking in the silence. Was kind of expecting to die, he said. Frankie's voice came over comms. Sorry, big guy. Looks like you're Emperor of Old Earth now. Rex groaned. You're joking. The Reaper smiled for the first time in years. I never joke. Back. Aboard the warship, the trio stood looking out over the stars as the Reaper's old network reconnected. Humans and aliens united by laughter, resistance, and the sheer absurdity of it all. Frankie bumped Rex with her shoulder. So what now, Emperor Rex? He winced. Please don't call me that. Beans walked in holding a tray of coffee. You do realize this makes you the de facto representative of Earth in the new Galactic Order, right? Rex blinked. Do I get a badge? No. Do I get a laser sword? No. Then what's the point? Frankie smirked. You get to make speeches. Lots of speeches. He turned to the Reaper. You knew this would happen. She nodded. I hoped. The stars outside shimmered with new possibilities. Worlds once enslaved were now rising. The empire humiliated, fractured into irrelevant squabbling. And Earth? Earth was a punchline. A terrifying, unstoppable, utterly ridiculous punchline. But one that punched back harder than anyone expected. As they flew toward the next crisis, because with humans, there was always a next crisis, Rex slumped in the captain's chair and muttered, I swear, if the next enemy has tentacles, I'm quitting. The Reaper chuckled. No, you won't. Yeah, Frankie added. Because you're the idiot who saved the galaxy. He stared out into space. Well, crap. And the galaxy laughed with them.